here we will speak about 3 lots from the upcoming auction on March 9 and March 10, 2023, Fine Chinese Art, lot number 34, 142, and 143. The reason why we put them together is because they all 3 show archaic animals, and they are from 3 very important periods in ancient China. This is here the oldest one from the Shang dynasty, a bone carved handle in the shape of a tiger, very characteristic. And then we have a bronze fitting from the Zhou dynasty. This is a few hundred years later. This is roughly 3,200 years old. This is 2,700 years old. And then we have here from the Han dynasty a carved jade, which is about 2,000 years old. So we're looking at 3 very ancient objects that all show mythical animals and that are made from 3 different types of materials, from bone, from bronze, and from jade. And the other thing is they were owned by 3 rather important and notable collector personalities. This one was owned by Monsieur Rousset, who was a long-time operator of a noted gallery in Paris, in France, and who also educated his son, who eventually took over the gallery. And it's a very famous collection, the Rousset collection. Where this one comes from, it also has this old inventory here at the base. And this one is from Dr. Wu Qiwan, who was actually quite similar perspective in collecting. But in the United Kingdom, he was Chinese, originally a diplomat, who then became a collector and then operated a notable museum in the south of England. And here again, another collector, this time from Austria, Dr. Zeileis, who published many books about bronzes and ancient jades, and who was also a notable collector. He operated a health institute, a very well-known one. And this is how he got in touch with China, of course, because of ancient Chinese medicine, and so he became a collector of archaic bronzes and jades. So all 3 pieces from really well-known major collectors. And the other thing, of course, is they all compare quite favorably because these archaic pieces always have examples that are found in museums. This one here has a near identical piece, probably its companion originally in the Zacke collection, and it's also published by Dr. Zeileis, of course, in his famous book, Ancient Chinese Bronzes. So it has substantial evidence that places it in the Zhou dynasty, and it's in really good condition. It has this interesting loss here, but otherwise you can see the carvings and the designs, the castings is really, really well preserved. This one, of course, is a Bixi. So it's a famous mythical animal that has very deep roots in Chinese history, Bixi. And there are many of them around from the Han dynasty, from subsequent dynasties, and they sell for some very large amounts, especially if they're a bit larger. This one is actually quite large, and it's also really typical carvings here, which still reminiscent of the earlier Shang dynasty designs. And it has this typical bifurcated tail, and here the distinct double horn, which identifies it as Bixi. And here a piercing, so they can also be suspended and be worn as a pendant, or also for other purposes. And the examples, of course, that have been on the international market sell for 100,000, 300,000, 700,000, and up to several million, up to 3 million euros. It really depends. It's a question, of course, of individual taste. But generally speaking, it's one of the most sought-after subjects that you can find in archaic jades, is to have a large jade Bixi like this one. And then the bone handle in the shape of a tiger also compares favorably. There are a few of them around. I think one was quite recently exhibited at Eskenazi galleries in London. And I think we have a few more comparisons here that show that one example which had feet, but is, I think, exactly the same size otherwise. This one also has feet, but the feet are tucked, and here they are in a different shape. But otherwise, quite similar, sold for 36,000 euros. So it just shows there's a lot of demand in the market for these archaic animals that form such an important part of Chinese history, of ancient Chinese history, and which have so manifold ways to appear, yet still, as you can see, there is some resemblance, and I think this is an interesting area to collect these animals, as they come in various shapes, and various designs, and various materials over a period of roughly 1,000 years that is resembled here from such well-known collections.